So, can you still be seen as an expert if you are someone who is still trying to figure things out and you're documenting your progress online? For example, if you're building a business like me, you're building a brand of full self-expression, and you are in the process of uncovering your own full self-expression as you're helping other people do it. It's not something that you've done for 20 years, or 10 years or a long time. I've been in business before. I've had a couple of e-commerce businesses. I've had a consulting business. But this is different. This diving into this full self-expression, as opposed to just branding, marketing, and all of those things, but actually into the psyche of the person, their consciousness, their artistic side, their spiritual side, and bringing all of that into their brand, into their business, prioritizing passion, purpose, joy, and playfulness, and doing business from this sort of expansive state of connectedness, while also generating financial profits, while also still doing strategy and branding and marketing and all of those things. It's different. It's not what I did all these years, right? And only recently introduced things like psychedelics and whatnot into our practice. So I am learning as I'm going. I'm discovering as I'm going, and a lot of my content is me reflecting on things that I've learned like last year or 6 months ago, or even sometimes like last month, right? So as I'm going through things and learning, I'm also sharing. So I'm documenting my experience. So how can I possibly be seen as an expert when I am still learning? And how can you be seen as an expert when you're still learning and figuring things out? And this is a question I asked myself in the beginning of my career. In fact, it's obvious, right? We all know that we lie to ourselves. We know, at least at a mental level, that we stop ourselves and hold ourselves back and don't accept the fact that we are experts. But we should be called experts, and we know we should be experts, but then we're like, but are you really? Maybe everybody, even though they're so smart, they've completely missed it, and you've missed it. They're all wrong and you're wrong. You had everybody fooled, that sort of thing. So, we know that there's part of us that questions the value of what we know and what we share in our expertise and our work. No matter how confident we feel, no matter how much we know, there's always going to be a part, or at least for most people, there's always going to be a part that's like a voice there that sometimes throws things around that are not very loving and not very nice. And, the key is to be aware of it and to know how to address it and how to heal it, how to give it some love, and what it's trying to tell you, and how do you integrate that into your life, and how do you extract the nugget, the growth that you're supposed to have out of it, because this is where the beautiful things in your life start being created, when you work through those things. Yeah, so in my experience when I started out, I was like, can I call myself an expert? Even though I was asking these questions in, let's say, 2018, 2019, I was still asking, am I really an expert? When I already had high-ticket paying clients for years. Okay, I had a business. My first client, I got them in July of 2014 in my last business, my consulting business. And, basically, I had been getting paid for my expertise for years, and I had been called an expert, and I was still questioning if I'm an expert. So this idea, this notion that if you unlock the next achievement, you are somehow going to feel different, and you're going to finally claim certain titles and roles and labels and be ready or feel ready to do the work that you're called to do, or to take the space that you're called to take. This idea is not true. There is no amount of achievement that's going to help solve for low self-worth. The truth is, you have to heal things at the root. Otherwise, you're always going to get these kinds of ideas. And by the time you meet the next, milestone or goal that you thought was going to give you all this feeling of, okay, now I have a stamp that I have my shit figured out. By the time you get there, you are already way past that, and you're looking at the next level identity, right? And so if you know anything about what I talk about, I invite you to let go of that race altogether and not need it at all. There is no better version of you, even if we throw that word sometimes around. There's no better or worse version. There's just more growth or more evolution, and it's a process of a lifetime. It never ends. It's not supposed to end. So you've got to make peace with where you are today, while at the same time being excited to work on, unlocking the next level in your life. So anyway, when I first started out, I was like, okay, am I an expert? Am I an expert? So by the time I got to the point where I felt like an expert, I didn't care about being an expert. Okay. I was already done with that. And I was already looking at, creating this, creating Brands Are Alive and creating the thing that I felt was boiling under the surface, what I felt was my life's work that needed to come forward, right? So that's what I wanted to create. So at that point, I had a new set of challenges. I was no longer afraid to claim the word expert, but I was afraid to claim my desires. I was afraid to claim other things, okay? And I knew that what I wanted to learn, for example, my full self-expression, right? The practice of expressing myself fully is something that I have to do in public. I can't possibly hope to help somebody else get out of hiding and express themselves fully and freely and unapologetically without being afraid, or despite the fear, rather. I can't possibly do that if I don't do it first. I can't ask somebody else to trust me and that everything is going to be okay, and that not only it's going to be okay, it's going to be great, and that their worst fears aren't that scary, and that things turn out better than you expect. I can't do that unless I am willing to do it myself publicly. And so I basically loved working behind the scenes, okay? All of my businesses were behind the scenes. To me, being a marketing and business consultant was already a stretch. That was already way too much human contact for me at the time. So the idea of even being on social media was something I despised. And then the idea of actually starting, videos and creating content, I wanted to share my ideas and my thoughts, but I didn't want to be seen, right? I had a lot of trouble being seen, especially on camera, on video, that sort of thing. Yeah, like showing up in my truth, basically, like showing up fully, right? And allowing people to get to know me. That was the place I was operating from. I had a lot of barriers. So for me, the idea of building something like this publicly was pretty difficult, and it took a lot. It took many years and took a lot of work to overcome it, to even get started. And then another round of crap started where I had to deal with, holy moly, what do I say? Like all the emotions and everything. And I had no guidance and I didn't know what I was doing, because I was like, I'm not going to hire the umpteenth coach and the umpteenth program and the umpteenth whatever. I'm done. I know there's no way around it. I just got to do it. The only thing is I have to do it. Okay. Then once I worked through all of that, then the next thing that popped up for me was, well, crap. Okay, even if I'm willing to do it and I'm willing to be seen and I'm willing to do all of these things, well, people are not going to take me seriously, or they're not going to trust my expertise if I'm doing things publicly. I have to somehow figure out how to do this, be my fullest self-expression, and then bring my full self-expression, and then talk about bringing my full self-expression. Because at the time I thought it was a once and done thing. I thought it was like, you just uncover what is it that you want to do with your life. What are you excited about creating? That's it. Okay. You pursue it, then you're done. Your work is done. And the truth is, this full self-expression is an ongoing thing, kind of like growth and evolution. It's a lifetime thing. It's a practice. Every time you are expressing more and more and more of yourself. So you never feel like that's it, it's done, it's complete. Okay. But also you feel like you're doing it all the time, as long as you're doing it. So anyway, how can you be seen as an expert when you are in a place where you've got to document openly, or you know enough, you know more, a lot more than the people that you are hoping to help, but you're very aware of how much you don't know, basically? Can you still be seen as an expert, or does that basically make you lose all your credibility? And what I found is actually it doesn't at all. And I think you probably might have heard this before, that it's okay, an expert doesn't know all the answers and maybe it just didn't click. But let me just explain to you how silly it was, this idea of saying that one is an expert or one is not. Because what I realized at the end of the day is there is no such thing as expert or non-expert. There's no such thing. It's 100% relative, okay? So when we say that somebody is an expert, the reason we say they're an expert is because in correlation to our level of knowledge, that person knows a lot more. And that person has more information than the average person. That just makes them an expert. There are people who know so much about marketing and about business that to them I look like a child. Okay, I look like a girl on the internet doing stuff, And then there are people who don't know anywhere near what I know, who have multi-million-dollar businesses, and they hire someone like me because I am an expert. And by the way, not all my clients have multi-million-dollar businesses, so if you are just starting out, please don't feel discouraged. Okay, I just want you to know, because sometimes people hear that like I'm working, or most of the businesses and clients that I've worked with are already pretty well established and everything. Well, not well established, but like their growth and high growth, and they think, oh, it must be like inaccessible, or it must be for somebody who's making multiple 8 figures or multiple 7 figures in their business. Not necessarily the case, okay? It just happens to be that way. But the point is, these are people who know their stuff and they still consider me as an expert. Okay, so who's right? They're both right. It's relative. There are people who have achieved 100 trillion more than I have achieved in my life, and they've experienced a lot more. It's like if I tell them everything that I know, if I just squeeze out every ounce of knowledge, all the tens of thousands of hours probably of, learning and coaching and training and learning from real life experiences and books and stuff and seminars and events and programs and you name it, and thinking, don't get me started on thinking and writing, I could share with them every single thing that I've ever learned, and they'd be like, that's cute. Is there anything else you want to tell me? Because I already know all of that. So am I an expert or am I not an expert? I don't know, and I don't care. It's really all relative. It's about the person that I am helping. Like, do I know something that they don't? Or do I have something to give that they need? Sometimes, a lot of times actually, it's not even about knowledge. Actually, the people that I work with, a lot of times they know what to do. I worked with lots of people knowing what to do, but I needed them because I still couldn't do it. So knowing how is not the only answer. If you've seen my stuff, you know that I say this a lot. Like knowing how to do something, or knowing how do I get a 6-pack? Google it. There are tons of ways to get a 6-pack. We all know how to get a 6-pack, but do we all have a 6-pack? I definitely don't, just so you know. Okay. The point is, you're an expert to someone as long as you can help them go from A to B. And in fact, it's important that the gap is not too huge, because there are people in business and in marketing right now that are so advanced, their knowledge is so advanced, that if I were to work with them, I would feel uncomfortable. I would feel like they can't really understand, or they forgot what it's like to be in my shoes. They can't relate to my situation, and that's not always the case. I've had teachers and I've had mentors and I've had coaches that were way ahead in terms of expertise and things like that, but they had a certain level to relate to people at all levels, or different levels, right? But all in all, generally, it's actually great when you find somebody who's not too far away from you, because they're only a few years ahead in terms of, if we were to quantify it in years, but that doesn't necessarily really describe it. But somebody who is still pretty close, so that you're speaking somewhat of the same language, right? You have a similar understanding of numbers, or similar perception of numbers, and that sort of thing. So, the point is, you really don't have to even ask the question of, am I even an expert? Let alone, can I be seen as an expert? Because it's completely relative. And you probably definitely already know how to solve certain problems for your clients. I would hope, if you are working with clients, there is something that you're doing for them, right? But even if you don't have a business yet, or you're thinking of a new offer, or something that's so different that you have to build an entirely new business around it, there's a good chance that you already know how to help people. Otherwise, you wouldn't be feeling called to do it. And so in documenting your process, in sharing with other people, all that it's doing is really that it's showing them that you're walking the talk. And I get a lot of this kind of comment, especially like one-on-one or in my DMs, and with potential clients, oh, you're very down to earth, or you're very real. There's something very real about you. There's something very trustworthy about you. And people just tend to trust me 1000% in the easiest way. People trust me in ways that are completely, sometimes I'm like, what? You would trust me with that? They trust me so much. And it's because it's very obvious that I'm just kind of chilling in my corner, and I don't have much of a, how do I say this? I'm not going to pretend that I don't care what people think of me or what people think of my expertise, but I don't care enough to actually give it much thought. You know what I mean? Like, it's important to me to be seen as the professional that I am. It's important to me to maintain, of course, a certain standard in quality in the work that I do. It's crucial to me. It's very, very important. But it's not coming from a place of wanting to please anyone as much as because I love the work so freaking much and I care about it so much. And I believe in the things that we do so much and the work that we do so much. And it's very exciting to see the effect that it has on other people. It's just fun. It's so much fun. Like I said, like, it's hard for me to not work on it. It's not hard for me to not do the work. So I just do it, and I just happen to share it with people. And in the process of doing that, people feel trusting. Like, I'm part of a mastermind where people have admitted having like a lot of difficult sales conversations, and people that show up to the call and they don't trust them, and they're like questioning the value, and they're talking about the price, and like they're not trusting the person, the expert. And I was like, well, but my experience is completely different. I never have trolls. I never have poor experiences. Everybody I talk to is amazing, is beautiful human beings. I have nothing but positivity around. And in the rare occasion that I see something that's not great, it's like I can see that it's not about me, but you know, I just seem to have like a different experience. Just as a result of showing up in this level of comfort, I think that other people can put down their masks too, and they feel like they can, I can be myself around you, and there's a sense of comfort around that, I think. So you've got to put yourself at ease and be okay with being seen. And it doesn't mean that you have to share personal information or things that you're not comfortable sharing, but you have to let go of this need to be seen as an expert, as somebody who's got it all figured out, because in today's day and age, people don't want experts with a lot of information. They don't even want the information because the information is already there. You can Google it, you can find the answer to pretty much anything you want on the internet. But what people want is to witness the experience of another human being going through the same thing and be reassured that I'm not alone in this experience, right? I'm not the only one who's experiencing this, and I have a real human track record to look at, right? In a few years, you'll be able to look at this video, and if I'm still alive and still making videos at that point, well, if I'm still alive, then I'm still gonna be I'm not planning to retire, okay? But, the point is, you'll be able to see videos, okay? You'll be able to see videos like this, and you'll be able to see the process. And I can look back at earlier videos already from like last year, for example, or earlier this year when I finally committed to creating at least one video a week. But before that, I was creating on and off. I can see the difference. I can see how far I've come in the work that I'm doing, and I can see how much I've learned in the process of video and content creation. And so I was not an expert. I'm still not an expert on how to create a YouTube video or how to create videos in general, how to create shorts and that sort of thing. But heck, it's something I can teach right now. I have an entire process, how to come up with ideas and how to expand them and how to outline them and then how to turn them. And I found my own style. I know what works for me, and I can easily just get in front of a camera and talk to it. Still sometimes, a lot of times ramble and forget lots of points that I wanted to cover, but who cares? It's more important for me to flow and speak naturally than it is to keep looking at the notes and keep looking at, I have no FOMO. If something is important, it'll come out. If not, it'll come out another day. Like, I trust that the right message will come out at the right time for the right person. You'll hear it when you need to hear it, okay? You'll hear it when it's the right time for you. So that's how I see it, and I just have fun with the process, and I make videos. And now this thing that I used to dread a long time ago, that used to be this huge thing that I just couldn't do, is now something that I love and enjoy, and I have a great time doing it. So, I'm not an expert at it, but I'm damn good at it. I have an entire process. And now, in comparison to myself last year, this time, I am a total expert. My younger self from a year ago would have looked at how much I know today about content creation and would have paid me for the process. Just show me what's the easiest way that I can do this in an hour, which takes me way more, right? It takes me way more. Most of the work is actually in writing and thinking about the thing. It's the thinking about the topic that takes a while. It's the just thinking about it. But that's also the most enjoyable part, right? Kind of going down a rabbit hole of your own ideas. At least to me, that's really fun. So can you still be seen as an expert as you're doing it? Like I said, as long as you know a little bit more than the next person. And People just need to know that you're able to help them go from point A to point B. That's all. And if you can help them go from this to that point, and they resonate with your values and they resonate with you, and can you have credibility with them, they don't need to know about all of your certifications and all of your endorsements and all of the stuff. They don't need to know that you've been doing it for 20 years. Most people don't know that I've been in marketing for like 14 years. Most people don't know that I've had a couple of e-commerce businesses before I completely transitioned into this. Most people don't know, how much expertise I have in all of these areas that are not relevant, because they're not relevant. And when they become relevant, I talk about them. And if not, I don't talk about them. So let's just drop this whole expertise thing. Okay? I think that the best way to show that we know how to do something is by doing it, and doing it publicly and walking our talk. And I think that's the only way you can actually help people, because more than just knowing information mentally, you have to be able to experience the thing and experience what it feels like to walk in somebody's shoes to be able to help them. And that enabled me to help my clients on a level that I never would have been able to help them with if I simply relied on my decade plus experience in just marketing and branding. All right, so that's it for today. Go out there and stop holding yourself back and show up. You are ready. You will never feel ready. Just get started. Even if you're not sure, get started on one thing that you can do in the next 24 hours. Even if it's just brainstorming some, topic ideas. All right, that was it for today. My name is Aliana. I'm founder at Brands Are Alive, where we help mindful and conscious creators like you build brands of full self-expression and a business that makes you feel alive. Thank you for watching. And if you haven't already subscribed, go to brandsarealive.com/newsletters to subscribe to the Saturday Mojo. We send a video like this every week. Talk to you next week. Bye.